the one thing I wanted to bring that nugget up. So Joel decided, personal thing, nothing. He didn't burn the bridge. And in construction and in our world, the burning of the bridge is almost an hourly thing, not even daily. That's how often
it's like an art form, isn't it?
Oh, they are so good at it. And they don't just burn it. They blow that sucker up. They take out the river. They're trying to take out the entire state. And if they can get the country, they probably will try that too.
Yeah.
And so
some people will. Great
job for not doing that, because brother, this world it's a lot closer than you think. I know we keep talking about the world is huge. Yeah, the community you get in and where you work, if you're not taking care of yourself and your relationships, it will come back to bite you in the ass hard. Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Alan, we're back, and we are going to be talking back in my home sphere that I love, and that's home services, but not all home services today. We've got a really different angle and a great guest today, somebody I've known for quite a while. Now, he's not the owner of the company, but you wouldn't know it if you didn't talk to him. And I would say he is also, what do they say, a Renaissance man?
Yeah, he is a Renaissance man.
Right. He is truly, and he's just a cool cat.
And he's in studio. I know, he rolls in, he's got the tattoos. I bet you it was a motorcycle.
There's not.
Come on.
Toyota Tacoma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Close. And I'd say the tats are a little bit new because I knew him before. I knew him pre-tats.
Got good hair.
He's got great hair.
He's racing backwards.
You can see he's got that cool sultry voice.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah,
never would have known that.
Joel, you didn't know you were in Chris's basement with two guys with a man crush already.
Yeah, I know. He didn't know it. Yeah. He's acting all humble. I love this stuff. We have Joel Mooneyham from Southeast Underdeck here. Southeast Underdeck is an Atlanta-based company that does underdeck systems in underdecks, of course, but allow you to have.
Is that how that works?
That's how it works. But I got to meet him because I knew the owner of the company, and then we're actually recording this in my basement, and you guys can both see the product right behind me.
Yeah.
Because we have our own product. We have that product here, and I've loved it. It's increased the living space for me. It allows me to go out there when it's raining, sit there, get to watch TV, and feel like I'm in the rain without really camping. So it's not even clamping. And that
is that the closest you get to the outdoors, Chris?
100% as close as I get to the freaking outdoors. We'll go to the mountains and we'll sit in the house, and we've got on a hike, and we're like, oh my God, there's tarantulas.
Just look out the window.
Yeah, that's enough for me.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So Joel, thank you for coming on in.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah, this is awesome. So Joel, I want to talk a little bit about your history because I did have a chance to meet your dad. So growing up, what did you aspire to do?
Initially, I wanted to be a pastor just like my dad. And a lot of preachers' kids have negative experiences growing up. And
Fritz is winking at me. I'm a preacher's kid.
Okay. Well, great. Yeah.
That's why I brought this up. Yeah, because I knew where we were going. He just didn't know part of it.
Yeah, so I had a good time growing up that way, and we're never the type of family where it never felt forced down our throat. The whole being in church and all of that, it was just kind of what we did, like everybody else, does what they do, and so I never knew anything different, and I always felt from a very young age, I guess you would call it a call to go into ministry, and from as early on, I mean, I guess I preached for the first time ever when I was about 10. I did a little sermon at church. They did a children's Sunday, and I got to speak. And
did you throw a flamethrower at 10?
I did a David and Goliath thing.
Oh, okay.
I made a few jokes, and I think it was like a 5-minute thing, and it's what you'd expect from a 10-year-old doing David and Goliath, I guess.
Yeah,
but through middle school and high school, I was active in United Methodist Church stuff, going to the annual conference and that kind of thing, and served a few churches in college, went to seminary, got a master's of divinity. And over the years, my understanding of what I felt called to do went through a lot of different changes. And at least for the moment, have landed in a place where actually doing the work that I do, I feel like gives me opportunities to bear out witness in a different way to people who may not ever darken the door of a church, while still doing other things creatively that still feel like I'm living out what I feel like I was born to do, for lack of a better word.
So, our audience here, people who may want to start a business, maybe are in a business trying to figure out how to scale a business. So why did I have Joel on? I had Joel on because his history and his arc and his career is a lot similar to a lot of us, either listening or on there. And that is, I grew up and I had a calling. I was going to do this. I was going to do this and do this, and then boom. Now I look at myself and I'm not doing that, but I'm doing it in a different way, right. And allowing myself to do other things. And just like many of us in our career, if you look at success, it's never linear up the mountain. It's always up and then rolling down, and then somebody stamps you down, and then
fall off the cliff a little bit.
And then you fall off the cliff, and then the goat stamps on you, and then starts shitting on you. And all this. Maybe that's a little bit too much.
Then the medevac, and then you're back up on top of the mountain.
And so you go back it up. So that's why I love having Joel come in here, because he started out that way and then said, hey, you know what? Something happened. And in my career or in my life, I decided to make a pivot. So talk about the first time you decided not to stay in the ministry, and where did you go and what did you do?
Well, without getting in too much into the weeds about it, the Methodist Church just isn't what I grew up in. It's changed a lot. And so I was kind of wrestling with that, and I spoke to some mentors about what I was dealing with, and they ended up, instead of encouraging me, they kind of reinforced the things I was reluctant about. And at the time, I had gone to seminary and done on campus there, and had moved back home for a lot of different reasons, and was finishing school online. And at the time, working in a restaurant that some friends of mine own in Buford, Rico's World Kitchen, a little plug for them.
It's a delicious place.
It's great.
Yeah.
And Heath was one of the regulars, and I served him and Lindsay for several times over the years. And I had been set up for an interview from another guest who stood me up. But I was going to use Heath as a reference because I'd done a little work for him. And then he said, well, I'll be happy to give you a reference, but I was going to offer you a job. So I kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of fell into it. But it ended up kind of suiting some of my strengths and allowed me to do some things I hadn't done before, as far as sales from a more direct standpoint. And then I realized through some conversations with some people that there are people who I can connect with and have an influence on in a positive way that have either been burned by the church or they're just not going to go. And I didn't want to run away from that. So I've worked at a church in between then. I still have found ways to do ministry, but I guess not to go too theological, but like Paul being a tent maker and having a profession and still doing ministry side to side kind of speaks to
so there's a couple of really interesting things he's already said. So number one, he went to his mentors, which I think it's great that you had mentors, and people go to their mentors and are hoping that they give them advice that they weren't thinking about. Sometimes they go in and they're hoping that they tell them, yeah, you're perfect. But in your case, I think you were expecting them to talk you out of what you were thinking. And in this case, they reinforced it.
And none of them meant to. I mean, they were the things I brought up that were concerns about. They defended them in ways that I just thought that you're not making a good case for it.
Yeah.
And I can't get there where you're at.
So then the second thing is you're making a few bucks working at Rico's, and here's somebody who's a business owner. You've got no formal sales training, I'm assuming. Now, correct. My father was a minister. He was selling every day, souls into heaven. but you have no formal sales training. And so here's a business owner who sees your character and how you are with people and is going to offer you a job just flat out to be in 100%, I'm assuming, sales position, right?
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
No, so pretty good job on Heath's part.
Oh, 100%
recruiting.
Yeah. I think, and Joel's bringing it out there and acting humble again, like he always does. Heath, I think the world of Heath too, and what he's done with his company, and he does always promotes his guys, right? As a business owner, we talked about him coming on the podcast, and I said this off air. He'd be a horrible guest because he's just so flippin' boring. No, I'm kidding. He's a riot, but he said, "I don't do that stuff, man. I'm not doing that." And have Joel come do it. But he saw Joel. And Joel being humble, how many times, and one of our questions we ask all the time is, in customer service, what's your biggest pet peeve? And a lot of times people bring up restaurants. And you can always tell when you get a waiter or a waitress or somebody in that role that just is going to be way bigger than that. Not to put down waiters and waitresses, not to say that bartenders can't make great coin. I'm just saying you can tell somebody's going to be really good with people in a home. You can really tell somebody's just going to be with people, good with people, with no formal sales training. I think, yes, kudos to Heath and kudos to you because because you put it together. And this is the stuff you reinforce with your kids, you reinforce with everybody. I don't care if they're asking you to go get coffee. You're going to be the best coffee getter ever. And if you do that, guess what? They might let you do something else.
Yeah, and anything you're doing to the service of somebody else is a good and noble thing to do. And it doesn't matter how, whether you're sweeping somebody's floors or remodeling someone's home or cooking somebody a meal, if you approach it with, I'm doing something for somebody else. And that to me makes a bigger difference than just, I'm doing this to make a paycheck. Well, it's fine, but some days especially if you're working in sales, some days are leaner than others. And so what can motivate you more than the money? And if you got to find something outside of that, because money comes and goes, but here's an opportunity, whether waiting tables or putting in underdecks or whatever it is, preaching on a Sunday, here's an opportunity to give somebody something that they may not be able to get on their own.
It's such a hard thing because I've heard this, and a lot of people say this. A servant's leader. I have a servant's heart, and it's a hard concept for me actually to put my own heart around. And I just
because you love being served.
I do, and
he's really good at it too.
And frankly, Joel, I do feel like everybody should be serving me. Hello, welcome to the King of the World. A little full of myself, of course I am, but it's a concept that when you hear it, if it rings with you, if that hits you where it needs to hit you. You got to follow it because everybody says, well, especially in corporate America, well, that guy's an asshole. But he's the CEO. Well, that guy's an asshole. He's the CIO. Wow, you have to be an asshole to be a CEO or a CIO.
I always thought that.
Right.
And it was when I was going through corporate America. One of my things was I wanted to prove you didn't have to be an asshole to be successful.
You don't have to be an asshole to be successful in life. And that's the thing. And you're picking it up from what Joel, and that's why we haven't even touched all the other stuff he's done. But going back to the circuitous route, so you get picked up by Heath, and Heath says, "Come on, I'm going to teach you how to sell underdecks." Did you even know what an underdeck system was?
Not until no. Short answer is no. I'd served them for a long time, and pardon me. I still remember when the first time he asked me to go to a home show with him, because at first I was just doing home shows with him on the weekends to pick up a little extra coin, and it was a really busy Saturday or Friday night, and they were waiting, and they just put their name on the list, and line was out the door, and hey, how you doing? And he said, hey, are you free on whatever Saturday? I said, I certainly can be. What's up? And so on the way up, I kind of got a crash course in what we were selling. And at the time, we didn't even have a stand-up display to show what it was. So it was I was selling something from a very abstract standpoint and just really getting people's names and information and just learned it over the course of a few months. And then when I finally went to work for him full time, I spent a month in the field going on installs and going on service calls and that kind of thing. So I really learned it in and out pretty quickly, and then started doing the the sales side of it. So prior to that, I would have been able to kind of piece together what it was based on what it was called, but the extent to which you can do something like underdecking, it never occurred to me. And to Heath's credit, he's very good at the R&D side of things. And I mean, not for nothing, but we really do offer a lot more than a competition, but a lot more than anybody expects. So, whether it's the amount of customization just from the system and colors and textures, but then waterproof lighting and fan mounts, that's awesome on its own. But then we've done R&D into making Bluetooth receivers so that people can have speakers that connect to their phone. And we've got a mobile app so you can download an app to your phone and control your lights and your fans from there. Things that people doesn't even occur to people that you can do that outside under your deck. Yeah. Well, if you call us, you can. Call us, you can. So seeing him and just his drive to, okay, here's a really fundamental idea. How do you keep a deck dry? Fine. Now that we've done that, we can either rest on our laurels and just kind of be okay at it, or, offer a lot more that people wouldn't expect. And when it gets to that, it almost sells itself because, like you said, I mean, you've got a pool, you've got a really awesome setup down here. That intermediate space for a lot of people is just awful. You dress it up. Now you've got the way I've called it is you're bringing the indoors and the outdoors together. So you've got this intermediate space that's kind of the Venn diagram of your outside living and your inside living.
So it is, I've often said when guys come into our office and start talking about their faith right off the bat, probably not a good fit for my company because you're worried, right? Because, worried about the wolf in sheep clothing. And when I first moved down here and people had the fish on the back and, I'm a Catholic guy, I just don't talk about it a lot. And so in the beginning I would do it, but they were like, seriously, some of the first guys to screw me were the guys with the fish on the back of their trucks.
Right.
And so when I say screw
Same
me,
here.
right? So it is.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
It is.
Joel? Yeah, because I was a regional vice president, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and the joke around the company is if somebody's voicemail says "Have a blessed day," repo the car.
Yeah, I honestly, if you say "Have a blessed day" in your voicemail, I probably won't hire you.
Oh, my dad he was a pastor at Snellville United Methodist years and years ago, and he got a letter that was sent to him and the pastor at the church beside us, and apparently to every church in that vicinity, a letter from the server at Applebee's said, would you just let the people at your churches know that Sunday afternoons are the worst day for all of us? Because
wow.
Church people come in and they can be rough. I mean, and I say that as a church person, I grew up in it. I've done it for a living. And yeah, unfortunately.
Do you have what it takes to start your own business? Are you tired of the 9-to-5 corporate job and ready to make that leap into entrepreneurship? You need to check out From the Zoo to the Wild, the book by successful entrepreneur Chris Lalomia. This book is a unique perspective on the journey into the wild world of home services and delivering excellence in service while working in customers' homes. Lalomia shares his path to success in this industry, including proven customer relationship strategies, award-winning customer experience processes, and a unique approach to training a team of service technicians to perform at the highest levels. Whether you're a small business trying to scale or a franchise operation, From the Zoo to the Wild will give you the mindset, habits, leadership style, and customer-oriented processes to succeed as a small business owner in the world of home services. So if you're ready to take control of your future, get a copy of From the Zoo to the Wild today, available on Amazon.
Bad rap, man.
Bad rap.
Yeah, I agree. So the reason I bring that up is because one of the things you also have to talk about as if you have a sales organization, and you all do, whether you know it or not in your company, if it's just you, if you're a solopreneur, taking more words.
Yeah, I love it.
Word.
Hey, Thank you.
AMA, Chris, huh?
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
all about it, baby. I'm
Ask
all
me
about it.
anything.
Anyway, so you come back to it. Your sales guys sell at their lowest level of belief. You just got done listening to Joel talk about the Underdeck system and what they do in the R&D, and you can see already this guy's belief in his system. If he came to sell you on your Underdeck system and you wanted to put this in, and it's a specialty niche product, you have to have a second story deck. You got it. By the way, I love this because one of their other sales guys, Glenn, he called me. He said, I literally went on a call where the lady said she wanted an Underdeck system and she had a ranch. And
That happened to me this week.
Really?
There's no structure to put the Underdeck in.
What did she think it was going to do?
They just wanted lighting in their porch. And they saw that we have lighting for underdecking. And then so I get out there and I can already see when I drove up to the house, there's not a hill. And I thought, well, maybe there's something I can't see. Maybe there's an upstairs that goes out, because it was a 2-story house, but nothing. And they had a covered porch with a roof and then a ceiling. And they said, we just want lighting in here. I said, yeah, you need to call an electrician, because y'all are in Peachtree City and we're in Buford. And
you need a deck to put an Underdeck system in.
We're not Southeastern lighting company.
Sounds like the appointment makers need to do a little more quality.
Well, I don't know about that. Hey, Heath, do not stick Holly on me. If she's the one making those calls, I do not want to hear from her. Because I've had
just one man's opinion. I'm just, fly on the wall.
Just for the record, Heath, that was not me. That was Alan Wyatt. You can hit him at Alan Wyatt at AlanWyattJr.com. Holly's rough, bro.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm deflecting that one in a heartbeat. But going back to the belief system,
my tire slashed by Holly now.
She's tough, man. Heath came out. They added some other stuff, and the guys were finished. I said, "Hey, man, I got to run. I'm good for it." And my office forgot to pay like the next day, and the voicemail from Holly was brutal. She didn't know who I was yet. Not that that's important. Well, yes, and of course it is, Alan, because you know who I am. I always think it's important. But she laid the lie. She's like, we expect payment at time of services rendered, and you have not paid. You need to call me back as soon as possible to make this payment and make this correct.
Goodness.
Yeah, I was like, oh boy. Ooh, yeah. But now go back to the belief system. That's huge, because you want to get your sales guys to believe in the product and the service that they're delivering, because that helps you. It helps you in your sales process. And I think in your business, you're always working on building the skills of your sales guys who do it. And I know that that's not your be all end all, Joel. And I know that's not the biggest thing for you. However, it does, it does things. So, and I was about to say put food on a plate, which I hate that phrase. I really hate that phrase.
But it does.
Yeah. So you left for a while.
Yeah.
And tried administering full time.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about that experience. You decided to make the move. You felt like, hey, I got a good guy, I got a good company, but I got to go do something else. Nothing against this guy. I got to do this. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So I've been a part of a church and for a very long time, and wore a few different hats as a volunteer there, did artwork for the church. I was on the preaching rotation, and they were looking for somebody to coordinate and build up the small group area of the church. It's a small church. And so I went to Heath, and Heath knows me, and so he knows this is something that's important to me. And so I said, this is what's going on, and obviously no hard feelings, but this is where I'm at. And so he said, I understand, do what you got to do. And during that, I don't even know how it came up, but I think it might have even been from him. Hey, we're trying to build up the social media piece. Do you want to do some of that while you're doing the church thing? Because the catch with the church was that I was going to have to fundraise my own salary, which is a really frightening prospect. And I was able to, again, thanks to a lot of the connections I'd made doing this work, I was able to to do that. And so went on staff to do small group ministry. Started in January of 2020.
I think we all remember that time.
Yeah.
That was
And
January was great.
January was fine.
You know,
And-
January, he's off ministering to people and making people better. I was going to Vegas.
Oh, I've never been to Vegas still. But,
yeah, I'll tell you more about that.
Then in March, we shut down, and we were shut down for a year. And
Church just took a big hit in this,
Yeah.
right? And okay, so I admittedly a Catholic guy. I'll come clean, man. I really love watching church on TV now, and I'm not going as much as I used to because I love the 30 minutes. I
You
told
just
my
clock
dad.
in when the message starts, and
So it's on, because the Catholic channel, right? I can turn it on Sunday morning. It's 30 minutes long because I got to be done. Hard stop. I love it. And my dad's like,
I'm sure.
Chris.
I'm sure God's glad you can squeeze him in.
you know what?
Yeah.
And so also God and I get to share a cup of coffee. Oh yes. So anyway, all right, back to you.
oh
Joe.
yeah, so we I'm there to do small groups, and we can't meet, and so trying to figure out how do you build a small groups ministry from scratch in a time that nobody in our lifetime had to
Right.
Deal with-
No contact at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was really tough. And I mean, so that just is what it is. In the meantime, also maintain a relationship with Heath. And during that time, I met the woman who I would marry, and Stacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shut,
Right.
is Stacy going to listen to this?
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
She knows I'm here.
Okay, good.
You have a
So-
twinkle in your eye, Chris. Why?
No, because I tell you what, he really loves his wife.
I do.
See,
I really do.
we're just going to leave it at that. I've been married a long time,
So
and she will not be listening to this.
there, through I don't want to get into too much of what ended up happening that kind of precipitated me leaving the church, but it came to a point where it was like, it's obvious this is not going to be something that's going to be a good fit for the long term, especially if I'm planning on marrying this woman and moving to Woodstock. And so leave that where it is. While that's going on, I reached out to Heath and I said, this was, you kind of feel silly because you go off to do something and you have
Your tail between your legs when you make that call.
I mean,
right?
it kind of felt that way. And Heath, to his credit, I mean, he really is he's awesome. And so I said, here's the situation. Is there any room still on the sales side, even if I have to do it, do it part-time or whatever. And he said, yeah, come on. And
All right. So if Heath ever listens to this, number one, I'll tell him, you're not that awesome, buddy. Slow it down. Slow your roll. That was Joel just kissing your ass, right? Hey, this is Chris. Give me the real shit now. So just slow your roll. No, he's great. But credit to you. And that's the one thing I wanted to bring that nugget up. So Joel decided, personal thing, nothing. He didn't burn the bridge. And in construction and in our world, the burning of the bridge is almost an hourly thing, not even daily. That's how often
It's like an art form, isn't it?
Oh, they are so good at it. And they don't just burn it. They blow that sucker up. They take out the river. They're trying to take out the entire state. And if they can get the country, they probably will try that too.
Yeah.
And so
some people will.
great job for not doing that because, brother, this world it's a lot closer than you think. I know we keep talking about the world is huge. Yeah. The community you get in and where you work, if you're not taking care of yourself and your relationships, it will come back to bite you in the ass hardcore. You don't have to be an asshole. You got to get back in it because you never know when you might have that. And you felt like you had your tail between the legs. And I will tell you this, knowing on the other side, Heath was thrilled. He was like, all right, come on. Because I know you. Yeah, I know because I know you. I know what you're going to do. And I know I want you in my business. So as an owner, he wasn't thinking that at all and didn't take advantage of it.
No, he really didn't. I mean, it was like nothing. I didn't really miss a beat. And you're talking about burning bridges. One of the things my dad always instilled in me, my mom too, is always leave a job or leave any situation better than you found it. And don't burn bridges with anybody ever. Like leave on good terms with anytime you can. And I've managed to do that a good bit, and certainly in this situation, it really did make a difference. So just, I mean, I guess speaking of advice is simply, I mean, every person you meet is an opportunity, not, I mean, for friendship and the things that we all need to be human, but you never know what help somebody might be to you, or that you might be to somebody else. And, as much as you can, as much as it depends on you, keep on good terms with people.
It's hard, easy to say, hard to do sometimes,
Yeah.
especially if you got a fiery personality like one of us in the room. I mean, geez, Alan.
Sorry, I'm going to therapy for that.
You seem real hot-headed.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's crazy. He's out of control. He wants to burn everybody. And Chris is over here ready. I mean, I got Molotov cocktails. And I'm like, you can come in here. It reminds me of the scene from The Town. Ben Affleck comes into Jeremy Renner and says, I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you what we're going to do, but we're going to hurt some people. Jeremy Renner looks at him and says,
Whose car are we taking?
Whose car are we taking?
That's a great movie.
Yeah. And that line is, that's the people you want in your company. Whose car are we taking? And so, that's obviously that's the anti-God thing. But anyway, back to Joel. So you go back to Southeast Underdeck. You meet the love of your life. You get married. You're doing this, but now you're starting to do all this other stuff. And I want to make sure we touch on this because you are truly a Renaissance man. And
Nice.
So Southeast Underdeck is the 9 to 5er, but there is some other stuff going on. So what else are you doing?
During the pandemic, I started a podcast, and that's kind of hit or miss because it's a one-man show, and now with a wife and 2 kids, it's simply not as much of a priority. But I still have things that I plan out and then execute with that.
Welcome to a 2-man show.
Yeah.
That clinkier in the background is Alan getting so excited that we're a 3-man show.
Yeah.
All right, baby.
That's 2 weeks in a row. I've almost broken some beer.
Yeah, you know what? It's so much more fun with a partner, though. I
As long
mean,
as you don't get slivers of glass in your fingers. Probably.
I blasted half of a case in Chris's basement last week.
yeah. When we were recording last week,
You got
it's
a
like,
mop?
right before we get going, he goes, "How's your day going?" I said, "You want to hear how my day's going?" And I was like, I laid it all out. I mean, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. Everything. I said, "We're here now, though, man. Let's get podcasting. That's what we got to do. We got to amp it up. We got to tell people the good things. We got to get after it." He goes, "You want a beer?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I hear him in the background, and all I hear, uh-oh. I'm like, "Hey, do you have a mop?" I'm like, "Oh,
Whoa, no.
wait. Oh, my God. It can't get any worse." And we ended up drinking some of the broken beer. Don't, again, advice, not gold nugget. Do not drink broken beer.
Broken anything. Goodness.
Right. I know. When you're cheap, I mean, you're like, well, what's a little ulcer? I mean, what's a little liver bleeding? What's a little,
What difference does it make?
come on, it's all good.
A little intestinal discomfort is worth a good cold.
All right. So you're doing the podcast. Are you still doing the podcast?
I haven't since Christmas time. So kind of what I landed on with that is when I get enough ideas together to kind of have a few scripts and then bang them out and then put them out, and then kind of it goes to seed for a little while, and do a little writing through there as well. Stacy is a creative person as well. So we both like to decompress by doing artwork. And I got my BFA in photography and drawing. And so we also find time together, like at the end of the day, she'll paint and I'll do, whatever paint, or I've been doing linoleum cuts recently. So
What is that? Is it like mosaic?
Yeah. In fact,
it's a type of printmaking. So you can do it with wood block. You can do it with linoleum. There's different pros and cons for each one, but basically you're carving in relief. And so you have to think of it
in negative. Yeah.
In negative. And then you can, with whatever image you've got, you can make the same image over and over, and there's really high-tech ways, screen printing and things like that. And I do it just very low.
So it's block printing with linoleum.
Printing. Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's kind of been what I've been doing most recently. And I've always loved watercolor, and kind of doing that. But then also I've been into photography since I was 18 and have done that as a hobby ever since. And during when I'm still on the road a lot, but prior to marriage and kids, when I wasn't in a hurry to get home, I would take my time, on my appointments and be all over the place and stop and take pictures of landscapes and things like that. So now I want to get home to see my wife and kids. And so to that point, I've kind of parlayed that into doing, I'm calling it bare bones photography. So basically I go take all the pictures you want, and then on the spot you get the pictures, but there's no editing. And so the idea is you have an event that you wouldn't ordinarily think you can afford a photographer for. I can come, and you don't want to be stuck behind the camera. You don't trust drunk Uncle Randy to take the pictures. I'm the in-house photographer for whatever. So I've kind of slowly building that up, but I've done a few things for that. And I'm doing one for, I wish I could remember the name of the nonprofit, but it's a nonprofit for children. I'm doing an event for them in November. This is a long way off, but
yeah,
I'm on their book to do it. So that's exciting.
Beautiful.
So I'm kind of curious what you think about this, Chris, because I love the fact that here's a obviously he's deadly successful in sales. And I remember I worked in one of my corporate jobs, and I was traveling all over, and I was working with this hardcore team of sales guys, and they would get really annoyed at me because like, hey, in a flight up to Philadelphia, and I'm like, oh, cool, we're staying by Valley Forge. I'm going to go check out Valley Forge. So I always go to all the historic places, and you're stopping and taking photography, and I'm wondering, Chris, you're like, no, keep your eye on the ball. Or do you?
He told me this years ago that he did that because I knew he'd been a photographer. I was waiting for this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
When he told me that, I'm like, have you fucking lost your mind? You got to get back and write that estimate up. You've got another job to get to. You know what? I might be able to stick another one in there. I mean, when I'm out there selling, I'm driving, baby. I mean, I will run over your mother to get to the next appointment. And he's like, no, let's stop and take a picture of the Roswell. The Roswell water wheel. I'm like, dude,
such a well-rounded quality of
life.
And
I would tell you, man, I wish I could stop and smell the flowers like he does.
You just want to rip the flowers out of the ground.
I do. I'll run over. I'm
yeah.
talking. I would absolutely do a lawn job on there with my car on a 360, trying to get back to the next appointment.
Well, the way I got around it is I get a little camera like this, where it's just a little tiny, and it's got all the manual controls you need, and like I can spot what I want to take a picture of, safely pull the car over, snap and go. And I mean, there were days I was doing like 5 to 6 appointments in a day, and then I'd have 20 or 30 pictures also by the end of it. And that was not for any money. I think a couple of them got picked up for I never even got to see it, but somebody reached out to me and said, we want to use some of your pictures at this photography exhibit. Fine, that's fine, I guess.
But I think, he's doing it without the expectation of making money. He's doing it to stop and again, I say smell the roses, which is the old person's way of saying, make sure you're in the moment, make sure you're doing that. And so he's doing that. And I think when you talk about sales too, when you have your sales guys and you're running 5 or 6 appointments a day, and we talked about the clunker of, hey, lady, I literally, lady, you don't know Atlanta, but you just maybe drive an hour and a half for me to say.
No, we already established that's Holly's fault.
Yeah, Alan Wyatt. That's Alan Wyatt, not Chris.
She's gonna come after you.
Oh my god, I know she's gonna come through.
Just gonna get blindsided. She's gonna be a Kroger and just taken out into the fruit.
You're gonna be walking through. You're gonna walk through Kroger, come around the aisle, and she's gonna come through and throat punch you and knock you down.
I'm like, oh, Holly, nice to meet you.
And you're 6'6". I swear to God, she will get up to your neck, and because she's not a tall lady. but I tell you, she scares the shit out of me. All right, back to this.
But so he does a great job, but he works to live.
He works to live. Yeah, but I think that's back to the sales process. Every time you go into a new appointment, you got to remember this, right? You got to. I always tell my guys, number one, clear your head trash. Right.
Yeah.
You got to put it all behind you. Right. You could be having the worst day in the world. I don't care. Today, this is the opportunity. And boom, you just got to throw it out. You got to put the power pose up and with your hands above your head. I want you putting in the big V, and you're bigger than life. And I want you going in there and making it happen because you're there to meet that customer. And I think, in a way, this is Joel's kind of clear your head, clear the head trash.
Well,
Yeah,
let me venture a guess. Are you actually an introvert?
And this is going to sound like such a contrarian answer. I don't know that I'm either one or the other. I think it depends on the day, because there are some days where I want to get home and I don't want to talk to anybody who doesn't live in the house, and I don't want to talk to anybody else. And then they're like going to the NARI events and things like that. I can thrive and I can enjoy that, and I've never had a problem being the center of attention. So you're
a gregarious introvert.
Sure.
Yeah. So
an
the snap and the photos,
extrovert,
as opposed to, you're hiring high D's, high I's who, thrive on the thrill of the kill. But this is an example of, don't overlook the introvert who may have this creative side, who wants to stop and snap pictures, because he can be an assassin when it comes to the sales.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Especially in today's selling.
But
world.
that's how he recharges.
Yeah. Because we talked about the clunker, but today where you're making the most sales is these people have already done the research.
Yeah.
They're looking for a guy who's aesthetic, who can see things. He can put that stuff in. They've already kind of educated themselves, but they're re-educating themselves with him.
And what I like about his demeanor, and he hasn't tried to sell me anything, is I don't think he's going to try to sell me something. I don't think he has a bone in his body that's going to, how can I get you to buy this Underdeck today? Kind of a personality. And you know what I mean? I
don't like hard selling anybody anything.
Which most employers like Chris would say, okay, next. Nice to meet you.
No, hang on now. I'm not that hard sale. However, we're going to have somebody on eventually, and we're going to talk about what they don't think that's high pressure sales is the one called close. But we don't do that either. I think we're in between. And I agree with Alan, is that, when you come in, you disarm people and you don't feel like they're selling. You feel like you're educating. I feel like you're serving them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll buy based on your education of them, and if they went up the know, like, and trust
and I guarantee you, I know what your answer is going to be. Have you had somebody say, well, what do you think I ought to do?
That happened today.
Yeah. When you are just crushing it in sales and your job is to sell, and they know your job is to sell, and it's an appointment to sell, and most people still have their fists up in defense, right? But when you have established complete trust with somebody you just met, and then they're going to ask you, what do you think I should do?
Yeah. And I don't like I can tell when someone's trying to sell me and just trying to run the ticket up. And I don't like it, because I've told you what I want, and I've told you what I need, and I've told you what my budget is. These are the 3 constraints you're allowed to work within to get me what I need. And if you can't meet those, then I will find somebody who can. And so I kind of I ask those questions, like, what are you looking for? What do you really need, if what you're looking for is more than what you can afford, and what your budget is? So where can all those things coincide? And if it's not in your best interest based on what you've told me, I'm not going to try to talk you into it. But at the same time, if you're telling me, well, this is what I want, and this is what I think I need, I can afford a little more than that. Well, then maybe you do want something a little more. We can get you there. But I'd rather give you all the information I can give you, and then hopefully establish that I'm not trying to get you to do anything you don't want to do. And I'm not trying to run the ticket up. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me how much you can afford, and we'll get you something really awesome.
That's how gregarious introvert sells. I mean, and I think that works. 20 years ago, probably harder, right? Yeah, the internet's not around as much yet. Not much information out there. Got to be a little harder on people.
Well, and the challenge sometimes is they may know what they want, they don't know what they need,
right?
And they don't know how much it is, so they may not give you a realistic budget,
right?
So when you're saying, I've got these parameters, when I'm dealing with a salesperson, you may not know what that what that budget really should be.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, for example, I've got Chris is going to build a cool little speakeasy barbecue deck for me. I have no idea how much it's going to cost, and I'm terrified to find out. But you know, I trust.
Yeah.
What? Oh,
I trust him enough.
As much as you want.
Well, yeah, there's that, especially if I get, you know, the Underdeck and the Bluetooth everything. But
I'm thinking that's really cool.
yeah,
but we have to put it under your deck,
I
which
know.
you wouldn't go on.
Well, I may want to go under my deck now.
You might.
Yeah.
All right, we're starting to come to the end. I know we could go on forever. This was again, Renaissance man who can sell, but showing the arc that a lot of people go through as you start your own business has been amazing, and that's the parallels. That's why I wanted to have Joel on here, because I think Joel, amazing career so far, amazing life so far.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's exciting. While you didn't start your own business, boy, you've been right around it and you've seen it. And we talk about this a lot. You know, the adrenaline rush I get from starting my own business is amazing, but also the career path and the trajectory was so circuitous, and it's all over the place to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And you did it too, and you've done it, and you've really done it with style and class. And although I will say the one thing, the photography, the art, I went to the art link and it says under construction.
It's under construction. I'm trying to revamp that as just kind of because I still do artwork. I began doing more of the linoleum, the lino cut in the past couple of months, and so I wanted to kind of clear everything else out and then kind of reintroduce those to the website. So I'm still trying to
dig it.
We didn't even get into the music and writing.
No, I know we didn't get into music and writing. All right.
What do you play?
I play guitar. I mean, I've got a little time.
All right.
It's up to y'all.
You want to play a song?
Shall show.
It's funny. I try to learn the guitar, and my string is broken upstairs. I still haven't ordered the
Your
string. I broke one of the strings, and I got to restring it. And I still haven't done it. Anyway,
yeah, it's like changing the oil for your car. Like you know you need to do it, and I don't want to take the 30 minutes out of my day to.
How often do you play guitar? Is it daily? Is it weekly?
I haven't played it as much recently, just because there are so many other things that I'm kind of doing. But I pick it up just to entertain the kids a little bit, and I've got a couple friends who play out a good bit, and so every now and then they'll ask me to come and sit in with them, and that's enough for me because I've never really aspired to that. It's just something that I enjoyed doing.
I'll tell you one thing I wish I would have done with my kids, and I didn't, was really promote music more than I did. And I had plenty of space to do it, and I didn't do it. And now they're looking at me because I can play a little bit, guitar, not so much, but I play the saxophone, I can play the piano a little bit, but not anymore.
It's a big regret of mine. My dad gave me one choice growing up.
Yeah.
Do I want to take piano lessons or not? And I made the wrong choice.
Yeah, that's a bad choice.
It's a terrible choice.
Yeah,
you still learn.
I still could. We had a lady that was working our neighborhood with all the little kids, and then me. And then, but her husband was a minister, and he got called to a church in Colorado, and so I got stuck in book 2. But I was so happy. Here I was a corporate executive, and I was taking my piano lessons with all the 7-year-olds in the neighborhood.
Yeah. There's a story that Albert Einstein. Gosh, I can't talk about Einstein. He would play violin every day and was never any good at it, but simply because it exercise that kind of dexterity exercises a different segment of your brain, and it was just something he did to.
The music's pretty mathematical too.
Very mathematical. I was going to say
that's why I don't know music.
Our Beth mathematicians are musical virtuosos. Yeah,
so I'll tell you, I've never played guitar, but my son is self-taught, very good, and I'm into woodworking, and so I built him I built 2 total, but I built him a cigar box guitar.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, they can get really cool. And the first one I did was acoustic, and it kind of has a bluegrass sound to it. Mm-hmm. Do you know the history of these things?
I do.
Yeah.
I can't believe you did that. I didn't know you made one.
The second one, I put a little pickup in it. Yeah. So, and the first time he just picked it up, and he was just doing this throaty, and he had this glass slide on it and everything. Anyway, I just blew my mind.
I've got the stuff I haven't done it yet. I got it during the pandemic, and then one thing I did is I carved the back of a guitar just the body of a guitar, carved a couple of them, and I built one of them out, like put all the electronics and everything. But I bought the stuff to make a lap steel, because that's just a really simplified. It's just a slab of wood you put the strings on, and I still have the stuff for it. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I got to sleep sometimes.
Yeah, man. And you got to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Because as we did here, to be a great salesman,
You got to take pictures.
no, I think to be a great salesman, I don't want to have skinny kids because great salesmen have fat kids, and I want to have fat kids.
We got a 4-month-old, and he between his 2-month appointment and his 4-month appointment just last week, he jumped from 43rd percentile in weight to 67th percentile in weight.
Nice job.
So
I say
big, heavy
it's all
boy.
about daddy selling.
Mhm.
Daddy's selling it. I love it. All right, Joel. How can everybody hear about you? I know. Let's plug Southeast Underdeck. We'll put all this stuff in the show notes.
yeah, so southeasternunderdeck.com. If you want to get a really incredible underdeck that will transform the space under your deck into something that is inviting and that you'll want to,
As opposed to the swampy mess I have underneath mine.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I've seen it. It's a swampy mess.
Yeah, so southeasternunderdeck.com. I run the social media there as well. So that's just Instagram and Facebook, Southeastern Underdeck, all one word. And then for stuff that I do, it's I have a bunch of different websites, but if you want one spot, it's joelfromatlanta.com.
Love it.
And there's a lot of different links you can follow there. And I'll get that art one up.
Awesome.
Next
Yes, you
week.
will by the time this sucker comes out. All right, Joel, we're not going to let you leave without asking our famous 4 questions. So,
Okay.
and I'm going to have to throw one book out. We want you to recommend one book that you would recommend to leaders, but you can't recommend that one.
Oh, yeah. No. Another one. Well, okay. So
That's a big
You
book.
have a lot to answer for someday, Chris.
Oh, when I get there?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I'm Catholic, though. I get that at the end.
You can't buy your way out of this.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I get to do that. Boom, boom, boom. I get a lab
Give him an
solution.
indulgence.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, I didn't knock
Wink,
him over.
wink. Yeah.
Hey, huh? You know what I'm
Get
saying?
Get the
I didn't. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it wasn't me. Huh? It wasn't me. It was Uncle David. See, it's not always Tony. It wasn't me. All right. Okay. So what
Working some
book?
stuff out. Do you need to
Always.
talk?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't even give the order. I just said, I don't know about that guy. Oof, oof, oof. Yeah. Anyway, we keep going. So
That's cool.
back here. So one book you would recommend
Okay,
to
so
our audience.
I confess that I haven't read a lot of sales books. My dad always listened to a lot of Zig Ziglar. But we're talking about books. I read a lot of history and nonfiction and theology. The one I'm in the middle of right now is called The Guns of August, and it's a history book of World War I and the events that lead up to it. And it's history, but it's one of the interesting takeaways is that, and it applies in a lot of different circles of your life. Don't tip over the water, Joel. You have all these people, all these leaders of different countries, all thinking they know what other people are going to do, and then also thinking that the way they've always done it is the way that's going to be successful for their ends. And because they were all so stuck in their ways and unwilling to bend or give any ground or anything, they went to war. And it's an interesting, it wasn't even written by a historian. I forget the woman who wrote it, but just as a broader lesson in being willing to really read the writing on the wall and being willing to
read the room
and being willing to shift and pivot instead of just staying on a course that may not be helpful or might even be destructive.
We've talked about
It's
that before.
interesting.
Self-help books are great. However, reading books like that, I actually find I get more out of, autobiographies.
I mean, the
Guns-
great leaders.
Yeah.
So you read
I
a
think it's
history book, you learn a lot about leadership.
That's right. So that's a great one. All right. What's your favorite feature of your house?
Okay, so I've thought about this, and favorite feature of our home is that we got the home that was right for us. So we didn't get more than we needed. We knew what we wanted, and we knew what was going to be appropriate for the size family we had. And we didn't overspend. We didn't overextend ourselves. We didn't get anything we couldn't manage. And so I don't know if that's a
A little bit of a
answer.
cop. So I'll give you
A little bit
that.
of a
So
cop-out.
yeah, a little bit. So
I'm
I
gonna
said,
go a little lateral.
so is it great?
That's just because you don't understand the concept of living within your means,
Well,
Chris.
no, it's bullshit. Yeah. So he's a great salesman. So it's a 10,000 square foot house and he's got 72 acres. He's got a horse farm. He's got a pool. He's got his own helipad.
Nope.
Just
None of that's
Oh, I thought
the
'cause that's
music building and the art building.
right. You got
Yeah.
the music building, the art building. You got the kid building. I got the kid crate section. Oh, that's my house.
Yeah,
Um,
the bounce houses.
I only have 6,500
We're
square feet. And it's still too small. There's only two of us left.
We are getting ready to do. My wife and I and my father-in-law are getting ready to start. As if I don't have enough going on, we're getting ready to start a bounce house business. So I don't have all of that worked out yet. But
Okay. All right. There we go.
something fun to do.
All right. So,
But-
I'm getting tired just starting to listen to it. I got to get up there and get on my guitar. My fingers are hurting.
You
All
need
right.
to.
Here we keep going. So we've talked about customer service and we are customer service
Freaks.
Thank you. What is a customer service pet peeve of yours
From a
from a customer,
customer's
customer's perspective? Yeah.
You're the customer.
I think I covered that. I don't like hard sell techniques because they don't work on me anyway, because I can see them coming a mile away. And I as a customer, I try to be upfront with whoever I'm dealing with. If I'm in a position to buy and someone's selling to me, I've told you the three things. This is what I need. This is what I'd like to have. This is what I can afford. And, thinking just most recently, I bought my truck in August and I ended up going with the person who really did respect those three things. And I shopped around and everybody but this one person was trying to get me to, well, don't you want this extra thing or don't you want this other thing? I'm like, no, I don't want 10,000 extra dollars on the price tag. I want something. I want this. I want 4-wheel drive, and I don't care the size of the engine. So just something, and I want to keep it under budget, and found a guy that was willing to do that. So I don't want to be sold to in a way that's not respecting what I've told you I want, need, and can afford.
That's good insight, and it's important, especially in today's world. You can be the high pressure sales guy, but there's always that regret, and there's the 3-day rescission thing anyway. So you might as well sell them on what they want, what they need, all fitting it in there with their budget. And so I think that's solid. All right, we want a DIY nightmare story.
A DIY.
Again, we love dismemberment, death, fire,
Splash
flood,
by acid, something like that.
I'm trying to think if I had like an awful
legs,
nightmare.
eyes getting poked out or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm remembering that I misread the question because I was thinking of an awful story that happened with a contractor at our house. But a DIY, I don't know.
I think we learn the best when the mistake happens when we did it. When somebody else does it, I don't think we learn the mistake as well.
No,
and so that's why I say DIY. Now you're in the business, and I know it with me, but I got plenty of. I almost burned that kitchen down. Two guys rolling around in the yard in front. I mean, I've got all kinds of those kind of contractor nightmare stories, but I think you always learn best.
Well, about the only thing I can think of is when we bought the house, there is a koi pond in the back, and so
It's between the music building and the art building.
oh, really overselling me.
Seriously, I mean, now he's growing
the
koi.
The pasture is on the other side of the koi pond.
Yeah, see, I knew it.
Yeah,
I knew it was 10,000.
Take the ATV out to it.
See, I knew it. He's a
But
great salesman.
The
Go work at Southeast
trying
Underdeck
to
and you
keep
get one
that
too.
thing. Do what?
Go work at Southeast Underdeck and you too can have a koi pond and
stay
10,000
away.
square feet.
There's enough of it. Trying to keep that thing clear and going, because the people before us, they were retired, so they didn't have anything to do but maintain the
Putter around with the
Koi
koi.
pond?
Yeah, really. And that's
Keep the hawks away.
that's just a never-ending battle. If I had to pick a DIY story,
All right. Yeah.
Have you
not
killed,
great.
Did you kill some fish?
no, they're
did-
still kicking.
Really? No hawks took the fish out?
No, I built a wire grate to go over it to make sure that nothing could, and to keep leaves from coming out of it because we got so many sweet gum trees and maple trees.
Jeez.
I'm sick of
Hate
these
sweet
things.
gums.
I know.
So you
right?
built kind of an overdeck pond thing.
Right? He needs an underdeck for his pond. I think we're onto something, Alan. We're now going to come up with your koi pound underdeck. We're competing against Southeast Underdeck. Joel, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
in here.
It's been great.
Awesome, man.
lot of
This has been a
fun.
blast. If you didn't pick something up today, you lost it. You got to listen to this thing and figure it out, because there's a lot going on. You have a lot you got to do. We've talked about servant leadership, just having servitude and having that right mindset can get you where you need to be. You don't always have to be an a-hole to make it happen, but you can.
That's big of you to admit.
For him.
Oh,
not for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're still here, baby. I'm here all day. Don't forget to go out there. If you listen to this thing, man, go out there and do me a favor, man. Follow us, rate us, review us. Let's hear how we're doing. You want to hit me up? You can always hit us up. I'm at chrislalamia.com for all the deets on everything I do. You can go out and find out what we're doing. You can also send me a message on something else you want to hear about, because Justin sent us a note, and that was awesome. I love that. That was a great hit from him. I just enjoyed that. We're going to figure out how to work that thing in there, but I got some great guests coming in later. They're going to help us out. And so let's just keep doing it, man. Keep going up that mountain, and we will get up to that top of success. We're out of here.
Cheers, everybody.
Y'all take care.